Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, California Weather Watch. Today is June 23rd, and right now we're looking at the mid-level water vapor loop, and you can kind of see the troughing here across much of the west coast of North America. Got a kind of a persistent subtropical jet stream that's been going on for the last couple of months. It's helping to amplifying the ridge there across some of Texas there, bringing that really historic heat across the area. But in turn, we're getting a little bit of suppressed temperatures here across the state of California. We're going to have this afternoon thunderstorms building up here. We'll take a look at that, but through the extended forecast as well, it looks like some of that heat might start returning here, as it looks like we might warm up. We'll look at that as well. Now, El Nino. What is El Nino? We've got potentially a moderate or a strong El Nino coming up here, but El Nino can cause more rain than usual in the South and Central America and the United States here. And the reason why is we're building up all this warm water up against South America and across the equatorial Pacific. And you can imagine, then you got all this heat, this resultant heat there from that warm water. Then you build this jet stream here, this temperature gradient tends to bring the southwest flow, which during the fall and winter is usually a moist and warmer than normal here. So you can see a warmer and possibly wetter winter here for some places of North America. Of course, we don't know the exact details until we get a bit closer here, but it does look like a strong El Nino is in the cards coming up. And this is the Australian model here. Look at just showing a Godzilla El Nino. I mean, just a very powerful El Nino in some of its model runs here. And if you take a look at the European, kind of agrees there to some extent here. This was June 1st. There'll be another one on July 1st here, but a lot of these ensembles did have us moving into strong El Nino territory. However, the CFS did back down a little bit. You can see the latest 8 forecast members kind of bounced back down. There's these blue squiggly lines in there. You'll notice a little bit different than the previous 8. So we did back off some of those temperatures across the equatorial Pacific in the latest runs there, but we'll watch that. It's still getting into strong El Nino territory, and we'll just kind of wait and see what it shows. It's really all we can do. This is what's going on. June 21st, the North Pole is pointed at the sun at its greatest degree of angle here, about 23.5 here. Then, after you get past June 21st, we start going back and we start losing daylight across the northern hemisphere. But that's why summertime across the northern hemisphere is now, and the southern hemisphere, of course, is pointed away from the sun. It's getting less direct rays, and that's why winter is going on in the southern hemisphere as we speak. Now, back to the forecast. So you can see not bad temperatures coming up here. This is Las Vegas, issued this morning. Check out Death Valley, warming up here by the time you get towards Sunday. Friday's forecast today, you can see some of these temperatures actually fairly cool here across some of the valley areas, only lower 80s. Not bad. Enjoy it while it lasts. This is increasing temperatures across Arizona coming up here, Flagstaff, Arizona, and you can see Phantom Ranch warming up quite nicely there. And talking about Phoenix, Arizona. So look at this. They say next week, hottest temperatures of the year are likely. And this is pretty typical. You usually get the hottest temperatures of the year during June, right before the onset of the monsoon. Once you get the monsoon, you start to bring in a bit more moisture in some of those clouds, and then you cool things down, relatively speaking, a bit. Then you start to bring those thunderstorms down into the desert southwest. So yeah, usually happens just before the onset of the monsoon, the hottest time of the year for some of Arizona. So this is looking at the European. This is last night's run. It goes out 10 days. If I put that into motion, you can see the general troughing across the west coast there. But look at this ridging that's really bringing those excessive temperatures across Texas. And we're kind of keeping things suppressed here along the west coast. So enjoy it while it lasts, because as we go through the extended here, check out what the European wants to bring. It really wants to warm California up here as we start to go through the 8, 9, 10-day period there. So this is something we're watching. Let's see if the GFS model shows it. In the short term, you can see that ridging, bringing that excessive heat down across Texas. Again, the troughing, pretty good agreement through the short term. Go off into the extended. Troughing continues on into next week, but then you can see the potential for some ridging to start to develop here across some of the southwest USA and out of the Pacific Ocean here. So yeah, we could definitely be warming up here through the 8 to 10-day period coming up. We'll be watching that as we go day by day. This is looking at the European last night's run, and this is kind of showing you the precipitation is going to be building up during the afternoon hours across some of the Sierra Nevada, Northern California here, and kind of rinse and repeat. And this is going to be including areas in Northern Nevada as well, the higher terrain. So watch out for those afternoon thunderstorms. They will build up during the day and then kind of wane as you go into the nighttime hours, and then come back again during the afternoon here. Rinse and repeat here on in through early next week. This is something interesting here. You kind of notice how these winds are always out of the north or northwest here across the coast, all the way down from Oregon into California. If you go to the coastal regions, sometimes you'll see those trees that are sculpted That's because that persistent north wind, you can see them pointing south here along the coastline, because much of the season, these north winds just continue to move down the coastline here. The interior heats up more, so you can kind of see general low pressure system there, just because the interior heats up more. This is a general pattern. You get the northerlies here, and they kind of turn a little bit more northwest and eventually west across some of the desert areas here. And they especially get going here when you get into the afternoon heating here, as the interior heats up to its greatest extent. This is looking at the next few days here, 60 hours out. Nothing too crazy wind-wise here, maybe across some of the higher terrain, some gusts, but nothing too out of control across the region. This is the European. This is yesterday's run. This is going to go out 10 days, but you can kind of see what areas are going to be favored here across the Sierra Nevada, Northern California, some of Nevada here too as well. It's going to get some thunderstorm activity over the next 10 days, but not much for Southern California or the deserts or Las Vegas or even the Bay Area. I mean, some of this just might be noise here along the immediate coastline. So yeah, not expecting much precipitation across a lot of the state except the Sierra Nevada and the northern portion of California. Here we go, 6 to 10 day temperature outlook here. You can see kind of a little bit of a bounce back here coming to the temperatures as we go on in through July 2nd, and this is through July 6th. Check it out. The signal's becoming stronger here as that ridging could be developing in our future here and warming things up. This is the drought monitor. Always like looking at this. You can see only a few areas even in some moderate drought. There's still some abnormally dry across some of the southeast, but so much better than we were at last fall. Remember that we had some extreme and exceptional drought across the region. And you can see even some of Washington State, they're getting back into the moderate drought area, but California doing quite nicely there. Now, rip currents here, this is something the National Weather Service puts out here, so you know what to do here. If it pulls you out, try to escape to the sides, make a bunch of noise and wave, let the lifeguard know, or let an experienced swimmer come out and get you. Don't try to fight the current, just go off to the side there. I got caught in one of those in Hawaii one time. It took me out probably 100 yards, just really intense thing. And luckily I just swam out to the side and was able to get back to the shore. But anyway, here we go. Water resources. Check out these reservoirs here. We are just doing really nicely, well above the historical average for most of the reservoirs. It let Shasta and Oroville basically all the way to 100%. I mean, you can't ask for a better situation here according to the reservoir conditions. And you can see the melt-off is occurring here. We've still got over 6 inches of water equivalent here, average across the entire state. It's pretty close to that 90th percentile here. And by this time of year, where it's usually hardly any snow up in the mountains, so still sporting some of that snowpack out there. And yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoy this, relative cool. It can be a lot warmer than what we are right now across California, but that may be changing through the extended. So enjoy it while it lasts. We'll check it out and we'll monitor it day by day. We'll let you know what might be coming here. And right now, just kind of those afternoon thunderstorms and somewhat suppressed temperatures here. But if you really want to go get the heat, go out to Death Valley or go off into Texas here if you like the really muggy conditions. Not too bad, relatively speaking, here across a lot of the state. But anyway, yeah, we'll do this again either tomorrow or the next day, and I will talk to you guys then.